We've all played it. I've played it rather extensively. Rob, you played a little bit more last night. Callie, you started yesterday, I think. Pete, you played a few days ago.
I played a little bit on PS4 last week, and then I started this morning on PC. For reasons we shall talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. But we did want to talk about Dishonored 2 because these games are they're similar in that they're immersive sims, right? And that's a really geeky, esoteric term for these games that put you in a world where it's got its own rules and physics, this backstory that exists, whether you want to look into it or not. But they also kind of usually encourage player experimentation with these like overlapping, pretty complex systems. Dishonored, it was magic powers. Arx Fatalis, same thing. Dark Messiah, same thing. But Dishonored was more of a stealth game, action hybrid. So you could choose to go stealth or hybrid. And that's not the case with Prey. Prey is very much its own beast once you get into more specifics, the minutia of the thing. But the Dishonored 2 is probably the most apt comparison to make because that came out last year in October, I believe.
Yeah.
And I really liked Dishonored 2. And Timur, who's reviewing Prey, really liked Dishonored 2. He was one of the ones, along with me and a few other people, that were pushing it up our Game of the Year list. I did want to talk about the differences between those two because of those reasons I was just mentioning. Did you guys all play Dishonored 2?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you played the no powers mode, or not mode. It's not a mode, but you chose the no outsider powers playthrough when he offers them to you.
Yeah, and it's a cool comparison because with Dishonored, it is so much more stealth, and I think mainly due to the fact that the AI was so much more responsive to you and the environment. So like, I consider playing Prey, and it feels very much like a Arcane game when you load up Prey, and you're experimenting. So I'm throwing boxes, I'm throwing objects into rooms while crouched to lure, a phantom to be distracted, so I can walk by a doorway or something. And there's just no response with that. Like the phantoms and the AI in general seem to be just separated in that respect, which isn't a bad thing. It's just like you're not getting the benefit of like distracting or confusing AI. Like they just seem to be either like patrol or kill, and it's one of the two things.
I mean, I think it's a different hook, right?
Yeah.
Like comparing these games for me is a matter of like how your interaction is, like how important that is to the experience. Where Dishonored 2, it's sort of like sky's the limit, like with what the powers you have and what you can do with them. I haven't encountered and I haven't heard any examples of things here where you're actually combining a lot of different things like quickly on the fly to do interesting, surprising stuff. But I think that is the pitch for Dishonored, right?
Yeah.
As a series is making that happen. If you're not doing the stealth route, where stealth is equally treated, with care and respect. I mean, this definitely seems to be more of the immersive exploration game,
right?
Than Dishonored.
Yeah, and resource management is much bigger here, I think. I mean, it's important in Dishonored, and much of the reason we can talk more about the structure of the games, right? Because Dishonored is these 9, or is it 9? I think it's 9 discrete missions. Dishonored 2 is 9 discrete missions. Dishonored 1 was also these separate missions you could jump into and then spend your time. They're these separate sandboxes, whereas this is all one contiguous world that interlocks. And although there are parts that you won't get into until later because of some story beats, you could still freely explore it. But in the sense that this is much more a resource management survival game, whereas, like we said, Dishonored is that hybrid that you could still choose to go either way, or my favorite way to play Dishonored, even though I love stealth games and I did the no kills, no alert playthrough, which was probably my favorite way the first way I played it. My favorite way to play Dishonored 2 was to actually mix the two approaches. And this game seems like you have to mix. You don't have to. It gives you the freedom to not, but in terms of resource management, there are some abilities that I really like over the others. You have these 3 human trees right here: security, engineer, scientist. And then, like the thing that's been widely publicized, and it's not really spoilers, that you can start researching aliens, much like you did in BioShock when you were researching the splicers with a camera. And then you get alien abilities, another 3 trees, which are based on telepathy, energy, and morphing, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this game is much more resource management. Rob, you are liking that.
Yeah, definitely. I do enjoy finding every nook and cranny, and just it's that process of very much Minecraft, right, where you just load up your inventory and you make it back to your base or your recycler and you offload, there's a crazy gratification you get from that. I don't know. I love doing that. It's like tidying up, like cleaning your room, which I should have been doing last night, not playing this game.
Your mom's going to be so pissed.
I know.
Robert, get off that. Get off the Nintendo.
Get off your prey.
Get
Nice.
off.
That's how your mom says.
Get
She
off your
sounds like that.
All right.
Nintendo.
Okay.
But
Sorry.
This part's good. Oh, it's kind of a
Yeah.
spoiler, actually.
But I mean, we've said it to death. I feel like about the mimics. I think they're pretty neat. I know one of the complaints that other people are having is like, at what point is it just? Do you enjoy the unsettling nature of entering a room and the musical cue that comes in, or do you not like it?
Yeah.
And I have been liking it, but I totally understand that like really high piercing.
Oh God.
It's a jump scare and it's meant to do just that. But I agree with the sentiment that it's like, all right, I wasn't even looking at it and you're scaring me. And at what point does that get kind of like tedious and unsettling? And I found, this is just a personal tip, is that you can turn down the music, and I lowered it to like 50%. And that significantly made those moments less frustrating.
Really?
Yeah, like, and that is going to lead to my next thing. Is sorry, I have to cut you off.
No, go
but like
ahead,
the sound mixing in this game, I think, is a problem. When it came to like you have your main January or Alex talking to you, and you're having an intercom in the room playing. The intercom will be significantly louder than actual narrative dialogue, and that happened often, and I found that very jarring and frustrating. Just weird mixing things where it's like what are they called? They're just those bots that fly around. What do they name those things?
Operators.
There was one area where like most areas where I had those guys flying around, they're like 2 halls down and they're so overpowering loud, and I'm having a phone call. I don't know if you guys have had that issue at all, but that was frustrating to me. I guess one of the bugs that people have been having. I don't know.
I also heard about like characters talking over each other.
Yeah.
I haven't encountered that yet, but obviously that's a problem. Because if you want to know what's going on and you can't hear it, I probably will end up turning the sound down, because it's really frustrating when you enter a room and like I don't even know that the mimic is there yet, or I suspect that a mimic might be there, and then there's the sound. I'm like, oh, I guess now I'm ready to look for it. Like, it'd be better if it was, I don't know, if you're not even looking at it and it appears and then you get that sound. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. I don't like it as jarring. I do like the game overall though.
Later on, I want to get into my overall impressions, because I think it's pretty wide-ranging across all of GameSpot staff. But later on, it's tough. Spoilers in this game are more mechanical, like shit you can do experimenting, so I don't want to talk too much about it. But you find the Hunter's Bolt Caster if you've been watching gameplay. It's this toy bolt caster that shoots foam darts. It seems useless at first, but then I'm finding more and more uses for it. But there is an enemy later on that's attracted to movement. And so I start using the bolt caster more against them and to distract them. But every once in a while last night, and I found that problems were persisting more if I like went into rest mode overnight and then turn it back on again later, as opposed to closing out the application and going back in. Sometimes I'd come in, it might just be my imagination, but I thought the audio problems were worse after that. But you shoot the bolt caster, and when the foam darts hit a wall, it makes a squeaky sound. And got misophonia bros over here. We can talk about this. Small sounds annoy me if they're consistent and kind of like you make a lot of noise. You sit next to me and you infuriate me.
Oh, here we go.
No, just joking. I'm joking. Slurping coffee, I hate.
No.
You don't
Want
not that
to
you do
talk.
that. Certain like guttural kind of noises.
I hate mouth noises.
You should listen
It's
to
a disorder.
Tay eating candy in the afternoon.
Oh, stop. Don't even make it. Don't even make that sound. Yeah,
But
okay.
the-
I'm with you on that.
I know you can hear me, Tay.
The bolt caster squeaking would keep repeating until I reloaded a prior save. I can't even talk because it's annoying me so much thinking about it. And I was in my room at home and I paused it and it continued when I went to the kitchen, and I came back. I was like, I'm gonna blow my face off if this keeps happening. And I almost did, but no, I didn't. I just reloaded a save.
Nice.
But apart from those complaints, I am really liking Prey. I love this game. I'm really liking this game. And I don't know, and I've gotten to the point where I'm experimenting more with powers, and it really is a game that you have to, if you don't want to experiment with different powers, I think you can go through the game like a specific way more than in Dishonored. Dishonored, I think, actually kind of force you to use different powers to get through. This game is kind of giving you the choice if you want to, in my opinion. I was texting Rob the other night, and again, I don't want to get too into mechanical spoilers, but like figuring out these situations, you know, there's not many environmental puzzles mapped out as it would be in a Zelda game, but there are these situational puzzles that kind of arise based on what powers you have. So these two turrets were at the end of a hallway, and I couldn't throw an EMP charge that far to disrupt them. And I didn't have much ammo, so I couldn't shoot them, and I wanted to save ammo regardless. But they recognized that I had been getting more alien powers, and they recognized the Typhon DNA in me, which in the persistent threat, the nightmare, which is an alien, starts chasing you when you have a lot of alien DNA, but also the station starts to turn on you. So I put an EMP charge next to me on the ground, and then I mimicked that, and then rolled up behind the turrets because they didn't recognize it. And that's really cool.
Super cool.
You have to go out of your way to try to combine all these powers because I think you could get through without them. Like I know, it doesn't kind of force you to as much as I think Dishonored did. But this game gives you the freedom, I think, to do that. And I've been doing that more. I think you're liking it more for the survival aspects, though.
Yeah, I think so. Like I had just touching on like the powers of like the morphing, right? I can morph into this cup. Again, like I haven't played enough to like make like a strong opinion, but I was, you see it in the trailers and highlights of this game where it's like, oh, here's like a teller slit in a room. I know I can get in this room if I'm as small as a cup. And it's like, okay, well, next thing I know, I'm spending a lot of time trying to like make a series of steps to jump up as a cup into it. And I found the object handling and movement like pretty janky. And that was just something where it was like a kind of a bummer for me if they're going to give me this power and implying that I can get into any kind of small nook or cranny, and I wasn't able to do that. In this moment, it was like, all right, well, in this moment last night, I spent like probably like 10, 15 minutes. I was like, what am I doing? This is dumb. Like there are going to be more heavy-handed, clear applications of like, oh, okay, this is an area that I can roll into, and hopefully the morphing tree spans out so it's like a higher jump or obviously more objects or different types of whatever it is. I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything, but
yeah.
I like having like kind of janky solutions to problems. Like I like having the option to like not elegantly solve something, and I like that is a possibility in this game, at least from what I've played. I love it when there's not always an elegant way to solve something, but you like just barely figure it out. And so I'm liking the potential for that. But I think one thing that is really irritating me so far, and I'm at the beginning, is fighting mimics and how quickly they move versus how slowly I move. Is like,
it's super frustrating.
Like it makes me feel like I'm really bad at the game or something when I don't think I'm particularly bad at games. And so I'm like trying to figure out how to properly shoot them with the glue cannon to slow them down so I can hit them. And
then you're out of ammo. And then you've got a wrench, and that wrench is pretty slow and inaccurate.
And that becomes very cumbersome. Yeah. And again, going back to my earlier point, like I like that I don't feel overpowered necessarily. Like I like that I can struggle with things. But that particular combination of movement has been bugging me a little bit.
Well, if you pre-order, they gift you a shotgun at the beginning of the game. So that was your mistake. You didn't pre-order.
I would highly discourage using that.
So what?
The shotgun?
The thing the game gives you?
I would highly, if you can, I would avoid that.
But that's the thing. You're supposed to play your own way, right?
Yeah.
I have
just your way.
No. You play how you want, but I think the game would be better if you're doing. I didn't get a shotgun, and I'm really liking I cranked my sensitivity. I didn't have as much of a problem, but you played on PC and said you liked it better, right?
So yeah, this is what I was going to ask you.
Well, so what I'm liking better is not necessarily the It's not the practical application of the controls. It's the physicality of playing on a mouse and a keyboard versus a controller. Because maybe I have more control over the camera, but I still find that wrench combat and those mimics to be immediately annoying and honestly detracting from my ability to want to explore. Because it is just this shrill thing that is just kind of like really shocking. And when I just have my wrench, like I have to get close enough to this thing to hit it, and it takes like 3-4 hits. And in those 3-4 hits, I'm getting struck as well, and there's really no way to get around that. So I find it to be punishing me for engaging in something that I can't avoid, and that doesn't feel fun.
it's interesting. Like it's nice to hear that you're having a good experience on the PS4 because
I had to crank my sensitivity, but especially after Strafe.
Because I was playing last night and I kept thinking like, man, if I had to play this on a controller, I would lose my mind. And the instance is the Phantoms where they'll do the warp dash, and next thing you know, they're behind you.
Right.
Just that alone, and they hit really hard, right? Like you have to spin around, and I was doing like very twitchy, high sensitivity moves with the mouse and keyboard. Plus, you're saying that, and I'm curious to know the layout on a controller, but switching from a glue gun to a wrench with a controller, that would get really frustrating, at least in my eyes.
But
like,
it's
hold
like
triangle.
You hold triangle.
No,
and
it's
get the
super
weapon
easy.
wheel.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay, because like for a keyboard, it's like 1-2. Like I'm just like instantly able
You get
That's not a
a
problem.
radial dial you can pull up.
And
Yeah.
it pauses
It pauses
the action.
everything.
Yeah.
It's like a
it's easy on
Ratchet and
console.
Clank weapon wheel.
Okay.
It's the weirdest comparison.
I guess what I'm saying is that
Doom
like
would be a better.
even pausing the game, like you don't have to with like the PC, and I find that much more. You just develop a rhythm where it's like glue. Like it doesn't. I don't know. I know that a lot of games do the slow down mechanic of like the wheel, whatever it is, but there's something about like quickly like switching to any of these weapons and developing that rhythm that I really would want, opposed to like any kind of like controller. I don't know.
I would
Yeah.
probably map weapon changing to my mouse wheel if I was on computer. That's me though.
You can actually. Just,
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Well, I'm playing on Xbox because we only had Xbox codes.
Yeah.
And that's going fine. I'm not
Yeah.
having any problems.
But even like inventory management in the menu, like
Oh
how
yeah,
is
yeah,
that?
it's a perfect example. No, right. That's obviously much easier with the mouse.
Right.
Or even the code keypads in the game.
Oh yeah,
That's-
that's the coolest thing actually is this numpad on the
Oh, you can
on
do
the
that?
No,
keyboard.
I've been having to use the E or whatever key to interact.
No, I've just been walking up to it, and then you just point your cursor, and it says, I just do numpad. It's actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
That's the one thing is on console, I'll like go up to a computer and then I'll try to interact with it and I'll forget like it's a 2-step process. So I'll end up
Right.
just jumping in front of the computer and I look
Yeah.
like an idiot.
Yay!
I'm like, woohoo, a computer.
Well, also instead of mapping like button selection on these keypads to the D-pad, which is what I would prefer to use to scroll through them, you actually have to use the analog stick to look at the individual button.
Yeah, so it works the way a cursor would work, and that's
Yeah.
the weird part. So interacting with, and to talk more positively, because there are things I do like. I really like going through emails. I think that sounds very boring, but I like looking into a very small piece of somebody's conversation and trying to figure out what is going on and what the context is. And so I do a lot of interaction with computers. And so just that input, I'm noticing that a lot more because that's something I do frequently. But I do like, those environmental puzzles of like solving like, oh, I need to figure out where somebody kept their password or like where a code for this safe is. How do I find that in this environment? Like, how do I glean that information? So I'm liking all of that. Like I like the atmosphere, and I really like kind of storytelling that you opt into. Like you don't have to read those emails, but it's something that like it slows me down a lot, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I feel like an idiot when I jump in front of the computer.
I did that with Fallout 4 actually, kind of similar. In Fallout 3, you actually you had to select to go into and look into a locker, and then you would, after that, you press the button again to take items. But in 4, you just have to look at it, and then you could take stuff. And still in Fallout 4, when I play it, occasionally I'm still doing the same thing and jumping and looking like an idiot. But you can talk about the game's storytelling. I really, really like its approach to letting me find my own story and kind of, I'm coming in and I'm talking about these powers I use, but I'm also saying like Jean-Luc beat the game. Jake is pretty far in, and we're all talking. We're like, oh shit, I didn't even know that was a quest. I ended up finding this before I even got the beginning of that quest. And then Jake will say like, oh, I didn't even get this, and I went through that area. I thought I scoured it. And then I'll find an email that mentions one person. Then I'll find another email that mentions that person from a different perspective. And then I'll find that person's like a note that they had on them that says this, and then you'll go into this crew computer and, you'll see there's no life signs. So, they're dead. There's a few people that are still alive on the station, but you'll see that they're dead and you can track their corpse through that. And that becomes a side quest you do because that they have like this fabrication plan so you can make this weapon in the future indefinitely. And then you'll find out that there's a feud between these two, like her and her or him and him, because he stole his like work and took credit for it, and then you'll find his body and find something on it that reveals another side of the story. And you two were saying that the emails and stuff does feel kind of ham-fisted, and some of it feels superfluous, the writing itself. I agree with that. I don't think some of the emails are actually really, the emails, the notes, some of the like the books you read. I love the lore of this game. It's as if Kennedy wasn't, the assassination attempt failed.
Yeah, like I've been reading all the books I can find. Like I found one on linguistics and I got all excited.
Yeah.
Like I nerd out for stuff like that in any game. So obviously that's something I'm going to latch onto with this game.
Like if Kennedy survived and if he survived or if there was never even an assassination attempt. I think it's
if he survived the assassination.
And then the space race, essentially the Soviets and America would kind of combine forces eventually rather than the arms race and everything. And then, like it just accelerated this idea of exploration in space and everything. But then it gets really sinister. But I like piecing this stuff together. I'm not in it for the sense of a traditional narrative. I'm in it kind of trying to find my own and piece these things together, and like finding out that this person has a shotgun in their room, and I didn't get the shotgun until like 15 hours in, which everybody else was like, oh, it took me like 2. And I still like,
apparently there's one hidden like really close to the start of the game, like the first room.
Yeah, it's in the it is. It's in one of the first big areas I think you're talking about. Yeah, I didn't go there because I kind of got overwhelmed. You walk into the lobby and it's just you can go wherever,
right?
Immediately.
What's kind of odd actually is I think when we played the preview or the demo, the linear based nature of the first hour is like you're getting into that first room and you're going to follow the same path. You get the glue gun, and the demo was like the shotgun was right after. And
somebody was saying here that they actually did change that,
which is interesting. But yeah, no, I mean, I actually have come around on the emails and stuff because you kind of eventually know you kind of know what you're getting into with some of these emails, right? Like, all right, this is kind of nonsense. I'm looking for something, in this case, like a familiar name or something like that. Like, I've been getting better at that, and I have been enjoying it. Yeah, like there's like some book that seems really interesting, like some like, it's like I think it's like a comic book, some narrative, but it's like
pulp sci-fi. Are you talking about?
Yeah, but what's neat is like you think of the JFK like conspiracy and everything, but like soon after that there was another conspiracy, right? Like that is just how things are, the way they are on the space station.
All these little stories you guys are talking about sound really interesting. It's just I feel so put off by the combat early on that it's like, and then when I see the emails that are more mundane and they're not as interesting, it's like, well then why do I subject myself to this sort of combat to get to that point? Like, I think, I don't know, maybe the game could have been better if it spent more time letting you just feel enveloped in its world rather than threatened on a regular basis, on a constant basis.
Like, I hear you, but I think there's a hump to be said where it's like eventually, and I was getting there last night, where it was becoming easier and I'm more confident and not as like timid by the environment because of the powers and the inventory management and like.
How long does it take to get those powers? Like everyone talks about those,
I like
but it takes hours, right?
I mean, I feel like I'm taking like snail's pace, and I think I am now sitting comfortable at like 12, 13 hours, and I'm playing on hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more confident, like, because you're going back to your office to like always dump your stuff if you haven't repaired these recyclers because you need, it's part of the game with resources. But I'm now like going back and I see a mimic, and I mean maybe I'm just running by him, which is kind of eventually where you want to go just for time's sake. But like it's not as bad. It's when I'm going into a new room that I'm unsure. Like there are a couple parts that are actually really neat where it's like, oh, you just did, I don't know, I can't spoil it, but like
new maybe areas. Right. Maybe there's just a hump that I need to get over, but getting over that hump I haven't found to be worthwhile yet. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna keep trying because I want to see the stuff that you guys are so excited about.
Yeah,
but I also don't feel like I'm alone in
no, you're not. No, you're not.
No, absolutely
it's definitely not. I think it'll be a divisive game. I think it already is, but I loved it right from the beginning. The wrench combat, I had to crank my sensitivity just so like when a mimic jumps at me.
You've been really looking forward to this game like forever, right? Like, right?
Yeah. No, I definitely have, but I just like arcane stuff, so I think I was super into what they were trying to do with it, but I don't feel as threatened in the environment as a lot of people do. I have powers now. I have like, you get something later on that you can kind of, it eliminates the annoyance of the mimic for the most part until kind of you get more powers and stuff, and like chipsets. And I'm enjoying the resource management, and I am taking it very slowly and scouring every room. So once I find out that the room is safe, I'll actually take more time.
I do that too, but I'm saying the rewards I'm seeing are boring emails. I'm seeing the same emails.
I think it's reductive to say the emails are the reward.
Whoa!
The emails are not the reward. That's so. No, that's so.
Isn't the narrative? You guys were just here telling me how that's.
I'm saying I like how the narrative is unfolding. I'm not saying that's. I'm not saying that's the reward. That's not exact. Don't put words in my mouth. That's not what I said.
You guys were literally just here telling me all these little stories that make it so interesting.
That's not the reward for slugging through though.
But if but if you're playing this game the way you want to, right? If that's the whole thing, and I'm saying that like the reward that I'm seeing in front of me is this narrative. It's what the game puts up in front of you first and foremost.
Oh, I don't.
It's not combat.
The narrative is not the reward for me. It's just adding to it for me. But I think I like the combat and I like how the powers are mixing.
Then what is the reward for you then?
That doesn't diminish
the resource management. I'm not saying that the emails are the singular thing I'm fighting through these things for. I'm not having as many problems as a lot of people are, and I don't think it's just because I was looking forward to the game. I love this game just because I'm liking the combat. I didn't have as much problems with the wrench combat. I stopped using the wrench.
Look, my whole point was that you're saying you slow down and do things. I get to that point too, and when I do that, the thing that I get for my exploration isn't rewarding for me.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that's valid, but I'm saying the emails aren't my reward. I'm saying the resource management, the actual survival aspects of the game, it's more about getting the jump on enemies and figuring out what I want to do before they react more than it is reacting to the enemies. And I think that's once you have to react to the enemies, I think the combat's a little bit flawed, but I feel that between the resource management and the difficulty and the way it's allowing me to prepare for this combat with so much like resource management and options of where to put resources, that it's actually facilitating me being prepared for fights more than it's actually asking me to react to fights.
When I have more than a wrench and a glue gun, then maybe that'll happen. But
it's a tough.
But I'm not being motivated to get to that point.
Well, I didn't even experience like not a learning curve, but like I really don't want to say the word hump again. But for
it's hump day.
The barrier to enjoyment, or no, that's worse. That's way worse. Anyway,
say hump.
I didn't experience that because this is sort of like the shit I do like. Like I like the kind of narrative that they're setting up, and so for me, it was immediately interesting. But I can 100% see. Like I think you were right, Mike, that it's something that's going to be divisive because it gives you a lot of options, but if you don't like any of those options, then there's nothing there for you. But if it's already something that you like if you want to unravel a mystery of like scientists dying, I'm like, yeah, that's the business. Like then I'm going to enjoy those, even the slower parts. But if you don't want to read the warning emails 3 times, which I don't mind reading emails, but like I don't want to see the same one on every of the first 12 computers I see.
Yeah. That definitely happens early on.
That's what I was gonna say, is that you get the same email and you're like, all right, cool. What else?
I will say, and like I hate saying this because I think a good game should hook you right away. That not every good game, but I'm saying that does get much better, and you'll find new areas that will reward your narrative. So when you're saying you want to get over the hump, that makes more sense. The emails up front are I'm so far from that part of the game that I kind of forgot about that, but it was pretty redundant in what I was reading.
They turn you off because it's just like, again, really boring emails. But I think what we were also talking about were there's also a distinction between the emails and then like the comics and the books that actually will freeze the game.
Yeah.
And that will be a nice like calm collective moment where you don't have to worry about someone jumping.
Those feel short to me though.
They're short, but they come in series. So you find book 3 and it's like, oh cool, I'm piecing together a nice little like story that it seems to be kind of like similar to what's going on in the station, whatever it is. But to touch on I think the hump, to really clarify it again, is to
hump day
is to get to the alien powers. And the game is adamant at saying like play your way, and maybe that's the not the confusion, but the frustration with that idea is that I knew at some point, like, you know what, there's all these side quests that I have early on. I'm gonna have to say no to these right now because I know what is ahead of me with these powers, and you get to those and you unlock the morph and the mimic, or mimicking or whatever it is, especially the kinetic blast.
Yeah,
like good. you want some of these things, and that's where the game was surprising to me, and I was able to like, okay, now I can kind of breathe and feel confident in playing. And again, I'm playing on hard mode. Like last night, I like literally had a different opinion, like going in like, I'm gonna have to dumb this down. Like these guys are too intense, And then I was like getting those powers, and I felt like I was like so much more comfortable, and I was like getting in the rhythm of inventory management and recycling. I was like having a good time toward the end of the night.
I want to go back and play now without the powers. Like maybe that's because I'm loving the resource management so much, but between like weapon upgrade kits, once you learn to fabricate those, and I just pump stuff into my like silenced pistol, and then kind of learning just sticking to human powers of science, engineering, security,
leverage, like moving objects. You
or
totally,
throwing those.
Right, but
That's really powerful, by the way.
I know. I keep forgetting about that.
Yeah.
Well, if you can successfully hit the friggin' mimics.
You know what else I forgot too? This is random, but like when I was saying I couldn't get into that window, I forgot that you can use kinetic, and that's what I haven't. You were mentioning like, oh, these powers being used like in like kind of combo efforts, like being a cup and then launching yourself with kinetic blast, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't even know if anyone's done that yet in the office.
I did. I tried.
Try
yeah,
it? Does
yeah.
it hurt
did.
you?
As a cup, no, I don't think it did. But you have to, set the kinetic blast and then quickly mimic the cup, and you'll be in the kinetic blast and launch you. But another thing, you get a kinetic pull later on, and you can't mimic things through glass. You have to actually have a direct line to them. I also really like the lore behind how mimicking works, at least in this game. It's not realistic. You actually swap with that object in a quantum separate timeline. So you exist in a different timeline, but your consciousness stays in this one. I don't know. It's not. It sounds dumb, but it's cool how it works.
I love stuff like that.
But I didn't have any small enough object to get through this little receptionist slot in an office. So I got back down, looked through it, pulled the cup to me, and then put it next to me, and then mimicked it so I could go through. That was really cool when you start combining them.
Yeah.
I don't think the true enjoyment came from this game until later on. At least up front, I liked it. Became from a survival game to more of an immersive sim later on for me.
I know I'm probably, this isn't a common opinion, but I really love the mundane. Like I love, in any storytelling, like I love little mundane things that you pick up that just kind of paint like this is an interesting world, this is a surprising world, but it's also like people still had to send out freaking emails about password security. And I'm enjoying it up front because of stuff like that. And I know that's kind of weird and not a lot of people like that sort of thing, but I really like staying grounded in some semblance of reality, especially when something is so out there. And when you're making up explanations for quantum whatever and you have all these weird powers, I like that there's still stuff like that.
The reward of sifting through the boring stuff.
Yeah, I actually like that. I know that is not for everybody, and so I wouldn't say like, oh yeah, that's just this bright spot in this game, but I am enjoying that, and so I don't feel like there's anything I have to get over to start enjoying it. And that really irritates me when you feel like you have to put in, like if somebody's like, oh, play this JRPG, it gets good 20 hours in. I'm like, screw you. I don't have 20 hours to be bored. And so I sympathize with that. Like, I don't think the mundane is a selling point, but that is something that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts on Prey?
I'm going to keep trying to play it. I have faith that, you guys know that it's a good game. I hope to get there sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Rob, anything? You want to keep playing it?
Yeah, I really think you should keep playing because now, like, there are things already that I want to talk to maybe you or later about cool environmental change-ups. Like I would almost want to say similar, just off the top of my head, like to towers in Zelda, where you think like, oh, this is getting tedious, like climbing a tower. Yet every tower was like memorable. You know what I mean? Like you start seeing rooms in that same respect, and they're directly in relation to a story of like what happened in these rooms, and with like the aliens, like as Mike said, like learning about like the physiology or like the science behind these typhons is like increasingly getting more rewarding as I play. But yeah, there was this kind of lull to be said in the beginning that I think we kind of all agree on.
Yeah, one last point. I do like when I come back to a room and not even remember what an NPC did in there, but I was like, oh shit, this is the room where I screwed up that phantom by doing this, and then that mimic came out of nowhere, and then I don't know. But yeah, Timur Hussein is doing our official scored review. It's all pretty much written. It'll go up soon. Just keep an eye on GameSpot for that. If you want further thoughts on it, we got a few features up on GameSpot about like tips and whatnot, things you might want to know before you start playing. If you haven't played, if you have started playing, leave comments on this video if it's on YouTube after the fact or GameSpot.